one of the words you used this morning. Humility should be our watchword.
Indeed.
And here we are after the elections. We've seen some levels of lawlessness where it's been alleged that some members of the NDC are, going into some state institutions and doing all the things we know they have done. We've seen some people have their shops looted where, some washing machines, some, refrigerators, tabletops and all that have been carried away. Where do you stand on this? What do you want to say about this lawlessness that we've witnessed the past few days?
I stand first on the words of our leader, our president-elect, who is not yet the president of Ghana, who is not yet the commander-in-chief of the Ghana army, who cannot command the police or the army to do their work. I stand with him when he spoke publicly and addressed the nation when the report first started, calling for complete cessation of any disorderly conduct from any Ghanaian, whether NDC or non-NDC, because we believe that these actions may not necessarily be all NDC sympathizers and actors. The criminal activities of looting from state warehouses cannot be of a party that has won overwhelmingly and is coming to power. It can also be from disgruntled members of the NPP who are going out, who thought that some of their leaders did not do well. In some of the hinterlands, the warehouses where there are food and grains and fertilizers that we saw people going to take out cannot be members of the NDC. It can be members of the community who were disgruntled, who were discriminated against, who felt they didn't receive their fair share of the goodies of government because MCEs, TCs were discriminatory in the allocation of these ones. For those ones, it's the criminality of every action must be addressed. His Excellency showed leadership. To now, up to this point, NPP leaders have not said anything other than condemn. John Dramani Mahama has addressed the nation, calling for a cessation of all illegal criminal activity and calling on President Akufo-Addo as well as the Ghana Police and the Inspector General of Police to work to deflate these situations. Number two, there are a number of differences with the visuals we are seeing. The issues with regard collation centers, those matters are with that one you can say that NDC vigilance that has won us the election is the vigilance that we are continuing with in ensuring we protect the ballot. I told you when I came that everywhere we went, people kept telling us that we should protect their ballot. Please, it is the vigilance of the NDC that has foiled the attempts that NPP made to rig the elections in many of their strongholds. They keep saying that 2 million of their voters didn't come out to vote. Imagine, do they really believe that 2 million of their voters didn't come out to vote? Those figures are not true. People voted for the NDC. Some of the NPP sympathizers and some NPP people did not come out to vote. But also the rigging machinery of the NPP that usually saw them stuffing ballot boxes, padding figures in many of their strongholds, it was foiled by the vigilance and counterintelligence of the NDC.
But would you say, forgive me, but would you say that even though we had Sami Jemfi call on the party supporters to go to coalition centers to do what you mentioned to protect the votes of the Ghanaian, would you say that in some instances or cases, members of the NDC or supporters of the NDC went overboard? Because on set, on television, I saw situations where they were trying to pull down a gate.
Well, you said trying to pull down. Why? We must always ask why.
Because they wanted to have access to the coalition center.
So let me tell you, when we kept reminding Nana Akufo-Addo that appointing non-MPP people into the Electoral Commission was a wrong move, they didn't listen. This singular action of his deteriorated trust in the Electoral Commission. Then, before the elections, we published names of NPP members, card-bearing NPP members. We published their names. We published their NPP card numbers, who had been appointed as presiding officers to poll constituencies and polling stations. Dear Ghanaians listening to me, we published those stations. And we also saw attempts to swap votes. The Okaikwe Central Constituency matter and the Dome-Kwabenya matter, which were the first constituencies at the coalition center, which at the regional coalition center, when they had to now resolve those matters. They were caught in their attempt to swap votes. They were not able to present their own pink sheets. It is the NPP who bequeathed to Ghana the name, the pink sheets are the evidence, and that elections are won and declared at the polling stations. They told us to send our matter to court because the laws of the Electoral Commission are that elections should be won, especially parliamentary elections, at the polling stations. Declarations must be made at the polling stations. So if there's no contestation and you fail to make declarations because you knew your candidates were losing, and you get to the collation center and we are asking for recollation of results, and you do not have your pink sheet, NDC, we trained agents, multiple trainings, people took exams, those who failed were let go. We were vigilant, we put in the work. Every candidate had their pink sheet.
How would you describe the performance? How would you describe the performance of the EC in this year's elections?
I would say that the things, sometimes the incidents, because generally it is the vigilance of the NDC and Ghanaians that has prevented any attempts at machinations. The delay in the announcement of the results is what increased tensions. And we must put the blame squarely on the Electoral Commission. And they were delaying in the announcement, in the collation and declaration of some of these constituencies, because the trend had shown such a defeat. So they were attempting to help secure some of the existing seats to, buffer and beef up their results, the parliamentary results. So they kept delaying, and the tensions were mounting. They kept delaying, and because once we found the evidence of the Okaikwe Central situation which had pardon issues, we knew that something was at stake. Then Dome Kwabenya came in. Michael Kwe Jr., where are your pink sheets? For the contested polling stations, where are they? You didn't bring them. 2/3 of the pink sheets had already been accounted for. Per their own laws, you should make that declaration. Because once they did not have their other pink sheets, you have your pink sheets, make the declaration. So the declarations have been made. And if there are contestations, go to court. Now, EC is engaged in another criminal activity, at least in the case of the Fantiakwa constituency that they say they have reversed, which we are going to protest. In the other cases, please, declarations have not yet been made at all, because the presiding officers abandoned it. In Damango, for example, there was no declaration, only for them to go and collect someone who was not meant to do the declaration, put him in a room and ask him to declare for Samuel Abujinapo. So that matter is also going to go to court.
I hear you.
The other 3 or 4 areas, at least in Greater Accra, that are still contested, and Eastern region, are matters that have not yet been declared because the presiding officers knew where it was going and abandoned their duty to declare.
Okay.
So now they are really dealing with those matters. So we